Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ramadan Mubarak. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Healthy Muslim in Ramadan. I'm hoping to persuade you during our discussions of the value of Ramadan to make you powerfully thoughtful and conscious of the way you value your body, the way you treat it, and how you get the best out of it. It's the only one you got. It's a Ferrari, and nobody's going to give you a second one. We've discussed that in Ramadan, you profoundly change the way you live your life in terms of what you do, when you do it, what you drink with what you eat with what and when and how much. And this is a very detailed and important analysis of the care of your motor car, the human body. Because you're making changes, you're learning. Your fast in Western climates is different in winter than it is in summer. You learn also in Eastern countries where the length of the fast might be the same, but you might be in different circumstances. One year you'll be doing some work outside, another year you'll be sitting all day. Our lives are different, everything is different. This is a steep learning curve, a physiological learning curve in Ramadan, in which you can become a real expert in human physiology. And I urge you, for your sake and for the sake of your family and everyone that you're responsible for, be deeply thoughtful of this during Ramadan, because the benefits for the rest of your life are enormous. Year on year, you can make the corrections of how you've gently been not quite doing things right. As an extremely old lady, I can absolutely tell you quite honestly that every year at the end of Ramadan, I feel so much healthier than I did at the beginning, in spite of a long fast, which you might say as an old lady I shouldn't be doing. But I end Ramadan absolutely feeling strong as an ox. And you know, I think, why wasn't I always living like that? Why did I allow myself to drift? So let's examine the criteria that we've been discussing about the three most important things: sleep, energy, and food. First of all, sleep. You should sleep the right amount of time, in the right way, with the right quality of sleep. Sleep is a chemical process during which you manufacture serotonin, growth hormone, and other important neurochemicals in your brain. And to put it in simpler terms, it's your petrol pit stop. It's putting petrol in your tank. Many people think food is putting petrol in your tank. Sleep is also putting petrol in your tank. And we need to be experts, our own experts, in how we sleep. In other talks, I've explored the importance of absolute dark in the place that you sleep, of no distractions that involve light, particularly iPads, iPhones, and computers, and televisions. They have no place in the sleeping place in the bedroom. I've looked at timing of sleep, especially as it regards prayer times. I've looked at the practice of the Prophet, and I've looked at the importance of power napping, both in its usage by the Prophet and also its modern usage, that pilots being trained to power nap are shown to have benefit for 4 hours later of increased alertness compared to trying to leg it without extra sleep. And pilots, like people in Ramadan, have very crazy sleep-wake rhythms and have to learn how to deal with this. So what are we doing wrong in our sleep management? You already know it. You're not sleeping properly because you go into your bedroom, the light is on, the television's on, you fall asleep reading a book. You wake up 2 hours later because you haven't slept deeply enough. And with the rhythm of the first REM sleep, we have waves in our sleep, the light is on and you wake up. You haven't had the benefit of proper deep sleep. And the benefit of the sleep is in the second phase of sleep, REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, where you're making the chemicals in the brain. So you're wide awake. Then for the rest of the night, you don't sleep properly. You wonder why in the morning you're exhausted. You go to your doctor, you say, "Oh, doctor, I'm always so tired." You're not tired, you're just not sleeping intelligently. And half the people who come to doctors complaining about fatigue, they're tired because they're not sleeping. That's the normal consequence of not sleeping. They don't need medicines, they don't need stimulants, they don't need Ritalin, they don't need any of these horrible chemicals. They need to be intelligent about sleep. Then, of course, what happens if you don't sleep properly? During the day, you're tired. You're really tired. If you get behind the wheel of a car at the end of a day and you're driving and it's raining and you're not paying attention, what happens? You have a car accident. Car accidents are much higher in people who don't sleep properly. And you think, oh, it's a car accident. No, it's not a car accident. You caused it. And people other than you can be injured. So it's your duty to care about sleep. Illnesses can happen. If you don't sleep properly, you don't have the right chemicals in the brain. When life dishes tough stuff at you, you've got to be resilient. You know, we're warriors. The Prophet expected people to cope with stress. Look at what the Sahaba went through. Amazing. They really, really had a hard time. Without sleep, you won't cope with it. You'll melt. You'll cry. You'll get depressed. You say, I'm weak. I can't cope with it. You can if you sleep a bit better. Illnesses to the body can be caused by poor sleep. Blood pressure is intimately involved with how you sleep. People with sleep deficits get hypertension. And until they sleep properly, you can give them a number of different drugs, but their blood pressure will stay high. How often when you go to the doctor with your blood pressure, do they seriously inquire about the quality of your sleep? It's an important thing to ask about. People who don't sleep properly don't grow. They don't get strong. This is essential for children. You're going to really harm a child's life if you don't help a child sleep deeply and sleep enough. This is particularly true of your teenage children. Don't worry that the teenage kids appear to be able to sleep until lunchtime. As long as you know they're not watching television through the night, they need that extra sleep. They need at least 8 hours sleep a night. And if they don't have the full 8 hours because of timings and prayer and so on, make sure they get a power nap. Then watch them play rugby, watch them play football. They're tough. Watch them concentrate at their lessons, and they'll be able to chunk through really difficult mathematics because their brains are alive and they're not having a problem. So a simple thing like sleep, you have to make sure you have good quality sleep. What are you doing with your energy in the day? Your body is made to work. Hunter-gatherer man did not have bicycles. He did not have a car. He did not have an aeroplane. He had to walk to get to the place where animals were. Animals are a lot faster than man, most of the ones you can eat anyway. And he roamed over a wide area of territory. So you see the same tribe covering hundreds of miles. I remember a lovely man, a chief in Nigeria, and when I met him, he was already in his 70s, and he told me about his mother, who used to walk from his village to the city. I had driven from the city to his village, and the drive in a Mercedes had taken 4 hours, going at about 60 miles an hour. Gives you an idea of the distance. Those of you who are quickly on advanced mathematics and can multiply 4 by 24. So, what's actually happening? This woman, on her own, walked to market carrying goods, taking days to do it, sleeping in the forest on the way. She sold the goods. With the money she got from selling the goods, she bought other things. They weren't able to get knives and tin cans and so on, which is very important for cooking. And she walked all the way back. That was considered normal. On my first Hajj, I realized that it was nothing for the Africans to walk from Arafat to Mina, and from Mina to Mecca and back again. They did it like it was normal. For me, I was pathetic. I was limping. I had no clue of how that simple journey was within my capacity. There's more we need to talk about after the break. Please come back. Welcome back. So, physical fitness is essential to get you through your day. I am deeply saddened that civilization has made life so easy for man that developed man, Western man, rich man, has become physically a marshmallow. I'm caring for a woman at the moment who is, I love her. I love her. She has a good heart. She's a sweet person. You can see that her attendants are very fond of her and they fuss over her, and she appreciates their fussing. And she's very, very kind to everyone around her. And she comes to me and she says, "Doctor, I'm so weak. I'm so weak. And pain. I examined her. There's nothing wrong with her. She sits down all day. She never walks." Fortunately, this is where medicine is an art and not a science. I'm not going to blind her with science. But knowing how she is fascinated by people, I've introduced her to a very skilled physiotherapist who happens to be a Muslim convert, which has intrigued her. And in the first session with him, he got her walking upstairs. She hasn't walked upstairs in 3 years. It took 1 session. That is art, not science. Inshallah, she will make a full recovery, because we will show her that it's her body has rights over her, and it's her Islamic duty to value the treasure of her body and to make it stronger. And we've given her a little carrot in order that she can take her doggy for a walk, which currently she can't. But seriously, the unfit body gets into trouble, and you can fall. The injury is your fault. You didn't keep your legs strong. The elderly, this is essential. I'm at fault. I went to a physiotherapist the other day who said, stand on one leg. Wasn't too good. There was a lot of wobbling going on. And she said, you should be able to stand absolutely firmly on one leg for 1 minute without wobbling, without your toe touching the floor. Then you will not fall ever. That's a wise physiotherapist. Nobody had ever told me that before. And do we ask our granny about that? what doctor tells their patient that? Doesn't happen. You can prevent things happening by valuing the treasure that is strength. And then we come to food. We nourish our bodies. Now you know we have problems. We overnourish our bodies because we're not exercising. Our calorie output goes down and down and down and down. And the less we do, the more we eat because we're bored and stressed, and so we become fat, and the fatter we get, the less we do, and the circle goes downhill. There has to be an intervention. Overweight is associated with, not only with diseases, diabetes, etc., heart disease, all of that. I don't have to tell you that. I see good, lovely people trapped inside their bodies. Trapped. They're in a prison wanting to come out. The effort to get them out is tough. It's tough on the patient, tough on the assistant. It takes a lot of people, it takes a lot of effort. It takes helping people to keep them on message. No, you don't need that. You can live on less. Today you're going to have a pound of lard from your right thigh instead of food. You need to give people very little nutrition in order, and help them to move, in order that they can mobilize the calories that are under their skin. They don't need food. They need core nutrition. It's called a diet, but the word diet has got bad reputation. What doctor really cares about his fat patients? You're told to go to the nurse who will give you a diet sheet. That's so impersonal. You need to love the thin person trying to get out of the fat person. If you know who that person is, you'll uncover them. And the gradual revelation is a journey in itself. It is fascinating. It is not without fear. The person has put on these layers of protection for a reason. Do not think that the thin person inside doesn't have grief, doesn't have a history of injury, physical or emotional, doesn't have fear, a fear of success. If you praise them, you might find that they are terrified to discover their own worth because their parents told them they were rubbish. I've seen this in my patients. And yet, how do we humiliate the people who are overweight that we see in our community? We must treasure them and love them, because I promise you, inside every large person is a thin one trying to get out. And the suffering of a person who can't achieve their potential is very, very real. Not just the diseases and the pills and the aches in the knees and all of that. We know about the physical suffering. I'm concerned about that. But I'm concerned about the moral suffering of the person who knows what they can become. If only they were able to move, if only they were able to do this. Of course, you can eat the right calories or reasonable calories, but you can eat the wrong food. And that can be as dangerous as eating too much. And the malnutrition of ignorance in eating is very common. It's difficult, more difficult and more subtle to explain to people the importance of nutrition in preventing cancer. If you look at foods, Prophet clearly told us to eat of the range of everything that we have. Look at Surat al-Rahman. We're told, look at the magic of what we're given, the treasure of food that we can eat. But a lot of people don't. And it's in a variety of plants, all green plants. How many people do you know who say, oh, I can't stand greens, I'm not going to eat greens? Greens contain phytochemicals. Phytochemicals are your anti-cancer agents. After a certain age, you start to grow 4 to 5 cancers a year. We know that. If you have a nutrition in which a green vegetable hasn't been seen for the last 10 years, you're much more likely that that cancer is going to grow and become an illness rather than something you never knew existed, because it's healed naturally within the body. So what you eat is very important. The balance of your nutrition. You can't just go to something because it's delicious. You have to plan and balance everything that is in the treasury of food that is available to us within the range that you can afford. I'm interested that many people on poor diets actually spend a lot of money on other things. They might live on McDonald's and chips, but they'll spend money in ways that is wasteful. They'll smoke cigarettes. That's a very expensive habit. They'll go to the pub. They'll spend money at bingo. They'll gamble. Spend some money on the horses. This is harmless for non-Muslim people. There's no harm in it in the sense that they're unconscious. But you look at the money that they're wasting with peripheral pleasures when they're failing to take care of the great treasure that is the human body. Of course, there are people who've lost the gearing between who I am, they're unable to value themselves. Anorexics want to die. They want to fade away. They don't want to feed themselves, because to feed themselves is to survive. To survive is to be accountable. Then someone will expect them to be someone. They will have to have an opinion. They will have to get into this scary world in which they might be criticized. They're frightened of all of that. This is clearly a retreat from a world which has treated them harshly. And it's really important to help them feel valued so that they can start to nourish themselves, because they have received the love that shows that their life is worth something. I haven't talked about illnesses and medicines. I've talked about the person within, which is what really matters. Please join me further on our journey through healing and being a healthy Muslim in Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum.